right, here we are. Joshua chapter 6, verse 12. So he's been given his marching orders, so to speak. They've done it. Very odd thing. There are scientists that are believers and other types of people that are like that are believers, that have tried to turn this into a formula for why they needed to do these types of things. You know, the ground was this particular type of ground, and the marching at this particular type of cadence would create some form of liquefaction of the ground around it, and then the blast of the trumpets would create a natural resonance frequency or something like that, and then boom, here it comes. Yeah, I really don't think that God was thinking that. I mean, because God goes, and down the whole thing goes, right? I think God, and I am just making conjecture here, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. It just puts it out there. But I think, you might have your own thoughts about it, I think God tells them to do something that they're probably looking at going, number one, going into that whole walled city thing, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Number two, marching around, I don't really get that. And I've even watched the VeggieTales version, you know, with the French peas, and the slushies and everything like that. I mean, if you haven't seen that, I hope it's on YouTube. Check it out. Man, that's just awesome. When those slushies come up over the wall, I'm like, yeah. I might go to QT on the way home and just grab me one. But anyway, so that doesn't really make sense. And then, you know, this blast of the trumpet thing, you know. But here's the thing. God tells them to do it, and they do it. Now, you would expect that from a man like Joshua, who's been marching around the desert, walking around, eating manna sandwiches for like just forever. And then, but based off of going himself as a spy into a land of giants and saying, I think we can take these guys, and being in short order of the ones that went, that believed that way. No wonder God chooses him. I think there's something in ye of little faith being brought up to ye of bigger faith, and being responsible and being brought up to bigger faith. My friends, don't underestimate the power in your decision on something small that God is getting you, encouraging you to do. It is built on the culmination of many little things that God forms you into being the one and the champion to do the big thing that you can't even see yet. And when you get to that point, you're like, that's not going to happen. And then you get called to do something that to your rational mind seems almost completely ludicrous. And there he stands, Joshua, the man. He's no Moses, but he's in the promised land. This isn't the Red Sea, but you know what? That little Jordan thing, that went pretty well. And here he is. Now he's standing at his latest challenge. There would be many people that would say, you know, what's the chances of the Jordan parting and a whole bunch of people walking across on dry land? But Rahab, the prostitute, by the way, that's how she was known, bless her heart. But anyway, but Rahab said, man, you guys are famous for what has happened through you by your God. And she named him Yahweh. Joshua got up early the next morning. The priests took the ark of the Lord, and the 7 priests carrying 7 trumpets marched in front of the ark of the Lord. While the trumpets were blowing, the armed troops went in front of them, and the rear guard went behind the ark of the Lord. On the second day, they marched around the city once and returned to the camp, and their job was done. God had told them to go up there, march around, and they did what they were told to do. And they did this for 6 days. They went in, they did what they had to do, and they went and got something to eat. Now, sometimes we might struggle with that because we've got time on our hands and we probably really should be doing something else. And God doesn't really want us to do something else. He wants us to do what He told us to do and quit manufacturing our own man-made busyness. Churches are notorious for that. Christians are notorious for that. Busy is the order of the day. Can I just ask you how many times in the Bible that it instructs us to be quiet, to be still, to get alone, to pull away? His own Son came to this earth, and there were times when He just couldn't get away from the crowd, and He looked for a place to pull away, to be with His Abba. Don't equate busyness with godliness. Now, a lot of times there is. Certainly don't equate sloth with godliness or sitting on your hands. But he's being very clear here that there's a certain job to do for that day, and then there's not. Don't overdo it. Early on the seventh day, verse 15, they started at dawn and they marched around the city 7 times in the same way. That was the only day they marched around the city 7 times. After the 7th time, the priest blew the trumpets, and Joshua said to the people, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." Wow. You know, there's probably there's probably a lot of places and times in the Bible that I would love to be that proverbial fly on the wall. I would love to be that one in the corner in the shadow standing there watching. Would you not have wanted to watch this? Now, first of all, the spectacle of that day would rival a good spectacle today. I mean, when a building gets taken down nowadays in an urban setting where they put dynamite charges at particular places and weaken certain structures and certain I-beams in particular areas so that it will crumble down to the ground, that's still a pretty cool thing. YouTube that as well. There's bunches of them on there. Here's a city that crumbles to the ground. In that day, that's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing even today. I would love to have seen it. I would love to have seen the way it was done. Blowing trumpets, and down come the walls. Yeah, that would be pretty neat. Verse 20. So the people shouted, and the trumpets sounded. When they heard the blast of the trumpet, the people gave a great shout, and the wall collapsed, as advertised. The people advanced into the city, each man straight ahead, as advertised, and they captured the city as advertised. But that can't happen to us. It's nice when Bible characters are called to do spectacular things and they do them and spectacular things happen, but that can't happen to us. That's never happened to us. It's not going to happen to us because we are, and we can fill in the blanks with a whole lot of things. We can't do that. That's not going to be us. Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that that's not going to happen to you? Why do you feel that that's not going to happen to your family? Why is it so overpowering in your mind that that's never going to happen to your church? People today are as faithless as people then. And the people are as faithful. But the care here, again, is what is God saying to you? What is God saying to me? What is God saying to us? I believe there's a beauty in a collective voice and a collective ear of God going out to His people. I think it's an amazing thing for me to prepare a message and not know who's going to come in here, and as I deliver it, sense that I am feeding God's sheep. I sense from them that they are drinking in the Word of God, and it's the Word that they need for the day. I walk away from it myself going, oh my word, I needed to hear that. That's amazing. It's no less amazing that God can speak forth a direction and a guidance. This is your mission field. I've given you the city. I've given you the Lord over it and the mighty men, the minions of Satan that protect it. My friends, have faith, believe, and listen. Verse 22. Joshua said to the two men who had scouted the land, he himself was a spy. He himself had been sent on such a journey. Go to the prostitute's house. Oh, my word. Her name's... Go to the prostitute's house and bring the woman out, and all who are with her, just as you promised her. See, it's not God that keeps promises, it's God's people that keeps promises. So the young men who had scouted went in, and they brought out Rahab, there's her name, and her father, her mother, and brother, and all who belonged to her. They brought out her whole family, and they settled them outside the camp of Israel. They burned up the city and everything in it, but they put the silver and the gold and the articles of bronze and iron into the treasury of the Lord's house. But Joshua spared Rahab the prostitute. Man, she's just not going to live that down, is she? Just not going to live it down. And yet, it's not said in a glib manner, and it's really not even said in a derogatory manner. It's just said in a very matter-of-fact manner. Unfortunately, this is what this woman did, and this is how she is known. It's unfortunate. It's sad. The past sometimes cannot escape us, and we cannot escape the past. We are forgiven. We are blessed. Joshua, I don't think, was being mean. I don't think he was being unfeeling, although it probably wouldn't have hurt him a little bit to kind of think a little bit about what he was saying, but, you know. I wasn't tasked to write the Bible. He was in this context. Joshua spared Rahab the prostitute of the father's household and all who belonged to her, because she hid the men Joshua had sent to spy on Jericho. And she lives in Israel to this day. At the writing of this word, she was still living in Jerusalem. She had been saved. She had been spared. She had been brought out and brought along. Wonderful thing. Isn't it interesting that in Jesus' day, the religious elite took a woman of ill repute and brought her to Jesus' feet so that they could stone her? So little people learn in time. Verse 27, and the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout the land. Fame is an interesting word. It's shoma. It's the same three consonants in the Hebrew language that the Shema comes from, which is hear ye. In the Shema, it's hear ye, the Lord your God is one God. Serve him and him alone. The Shema is what they call it. And it's that same type of word. It's a speaking forth. When Joshua went anywhere after that, what had happened at Jericho spoke forth before him. My friends, I want to challenge you with something tonight. There are places in this town that you can go and nobody knows your name, but I think that's about to change. It's about to change for the better. I think that you could go out to certain streets and say the name Oakland Baptist Church, and you might get certain thoughts or feelings. Some places, oh, that church that used to be known for its music, or that church that used to be this, or that church that used to be that, or blank stares. They don't know us from Adam. I think your name can be spoken in certain areas of the community, and nobody knows you. But I want to tell you something, and I want to give you an example. There was a time about 2 years ago in a house, big house. It's called the Blakeney House at Charles and Franklin Street, that if I had walked in there, I probably would have been arrested, because it's, for the most part, the girls' dorm of the YWAM house. But I can walk in there now, and I'm met with high fives and hugs and Pastor David, Pastor David, Pastor David, Pastor David. I can't walk into that place over there that I don't get it. Those kids don't walk in here, that they don't stop by my door and stay there. Is it because of, I'm all that? Oh, my word. My kids would laugh at that one. And poor old Leanne would be down on the floor with her heels kicking up in the air if she heard anything like that. No. It's not that. It's because engaging in what the Lord is calling you to do is going to make you famous in the land. And not famous in that the lights are going to shine and that you're just going to get glory. That's not what that word means. It means shoma, which is very similar to Shema, or the Shema, which means the announcement of what is to come. Hear ye, hear ye. The missionaries are coming. Hear ye, and your name will resound in streets where they don't even know your name. Hear ye, Oakland Baptist Church, where your name, just a bunch of white people that sit here and meet on the corner, on Sunday, and nobody cares less on those streets. But before long, they will begin to care, and they will begin to know you. My friends, that's what it means to engage in God's mission. That's what it means to obey God when He speaks. That's what it means that when God says He's going to send you into the place, and He's going to go before you, and He's going to hold down the things that possess it. And He's going to bring fame to your name, and it's not the kind of fame that's glorified. It's just an announcement. The Greek have a word. It's called angelos. It means messenger, the one coming, bringing the news. We know it